The video call came in at 6:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, right when I was helping Tyler with his math homework. 8-year-old problems about fractions seemed a lot simpler than what was about to unfold in my marriage. "Daddy, the phone's buzzing," Tyler said, pointing at my cell on the kitchen counter. I glanced at the screen. Kalia's face filled the display, that familiar smile I'd fallen for 12 years ago. She looked relaxed, sitting in what appeared to be a hotel room. The lighting was soft, golden hour streaming through windows behind her. "Hey there, handsome," she said when I answered. "Miss me?" "Always do." I settled into the chair next to Tyler, angling the phone so she could see both of us. "How's the retreat going?" "Oh, you know how these corporate strategy sessions are. Boring meetings, terrible coffee, the usual." She laughed, but something felt off. Maybe it was the way her eyes didn't quite meet the camera, or how she kept glancing to her left. "Actually, that's why I'm calling. They want to extend the session a few more days. Some big breakthrough with the client, apparently." I felt my stomach tighten. This was the third business trip this month, and each one seemed to stretch longer than planned. "Few more days? Kalia, you've been gone since Sunday. Tyler has his school presentation on Friday." I know. I hate missing it." Her voice carried that apologetic tone I'd heard too often lately. "But this could mean a promotion, Rylan. You know how important that is for our future." Tyler looked up from his worksheet, pencil still in hand. "Is that Mommy?" "It is, buddy. She wants to say hi." Kalia's face brightened, and for a moment she looked like the woman I married. "Tyler, my sweet boy, come here so Mommy can see you properly." I turned the phone toward Tyler, who waved enthusiastically. "Hi, Mommy. I'm doing fractions. Want to see?" "I'd love to, sweetheart. Show me what you're working on." As Tyler held up his worksheet, chattering about denominators and equivalent fractions, I studied Kalia's face on the screen. She was nodding and making appropriate responses, but her attention seemed split. There was something in her expression, a distraction that made my security-trained instincts prickle. "That's wonderful, Tyler. You're getting so smart." Kalia's voice was warm, but I caught her eyes darting away again. "Mommy misses you so much. I wish I could be there to help with your homework." "When are you coming home?" Tyler asked, the question I'd been wanting to voice myself. "Soon, baby. Very soon. Daddy will take good care of you until then. Won't you, Rylan?" "Of course." I kept my voice steady, professional. Years of military training had taught me to stay calm when something felt wrong, and right now everything felt wrong. "So, few more days? That puts you back when exactly?" "Probably Sunday, Monday at the latest." She was definitely looking at something off camera now. "Listen, I should probably get back to the team dinner. They're waiting for me in the restaurant." "Team dinner at 7 on a Tuesday?" I glanced at the clock. Must be some dedicated colleagues. "You know how it is in consulting. The client's schedule drives everything." Her laugh sounded forced. "I'll call tomorrow, okay? Same time?" "Sure thing." I was about to end the call when Tyler piped up again. "Mommy, can you read me a story tonight, like you do on FaceTime sometimes?" Kalia's face softened. "Oh, sweetheart, Mommy's going to be in meetings all evening. But I promise, as soon as I get home, we'll read 3 stories. Deal?" "Deal." Tyler grinned. "I love you both so much," Kalia said. "Take care of each other." "We always do," I replied. "Love you too." The call ended, and I set the phone down, but that nagging feeling wouldn't leave. Something about the whole conversation felt rehearsed, like she'd been reading from a script. The hotel room looked expensive, more upscale than the budget-conscious places her company usually booked. And that lighting, it didn't look like any hotel room I'd seen. "Daddy, is Mommy okay?" Tyler asked, looking up from his fractions. "Why do you ask, buddy?" She seemed different, like when you're thinking about something else but trying to listen to me. Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. Mommy's just focused on work stuff. You know how grown-ups get when they're trying to solve big problems. Tyler nodded and went back to his homework, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my 8-year-old had picked up on something I was trying to ignore. In my line of work, designing security systems for corporate clients, I'd learned to trust my instincts. When something felt off, it usually was. I pulled up our shared calendar on my phone, scrolling back to when Kalia had first mentioned this retreat. The entry was vague. Strategic planning session, client site, no specific location, no hotel information, no flight details. That was unusual. Kalia was typically meticulous about travel planning, always sharing itineraries and contact information. Tyler, finish up your homework. I need to make a quick call. I stepped into my home office, closing the door behind me. The room was my sanctuary, walls lined with certifications from my military communications training and my current security systems work. Multiple monitors displayed feeds from our home security cameras, a habit that drove Kalia crazy but made me feel prepared. I dialed Kalia's office number, knowing it would go to voicemail after hours. You've reached Kalia Ventor at Morrison Consulting. I'm currently out of the office on client business through Friday, May 17th. For urgent matters, please contact my assistant, Tasha Liu, at extension 4472. May 17th. That was this Friday, 3 days away. But she'd just told me she'd be back Sunday or Monday. I made a mental note of the discrepancy. Next, I called Tasha Liu's extension. Tasha had been Kalia's work best friend for 2 years, and they'd grown close outside the office too. If anyone would know the real details of this trip, it would be Tasha. Tasha Liu speaking. Hi, Tasha. It's Rylan, Kalia's husband. Oh, hi, Rylan. How are you? How's Tyler? We're good, thanks. Listen, I'm trying to coordinate some things while Kalia's away, and I realized I don't have her hotel information. She's been so busy with the retreat, I hate to bother her. There was a pause. Hotel information? Yeah, for the strategic planning session. In case of emergency with Tyler, you know how it is. Another pause, longer this time. Rylan, I think there might be some confusion. Kalia's not at a company retreat. She took personal time off. I assumed it was for a family thing. My hand tightened on the phone. Personal time? Yeah, she submitted the request 2 weeks ago. Said it was for a family matter and she'd be unreachable except for emergencies. Tasha's voice carried a note of concern now. Is everything okay? Did something happen? I forced my voice to stay calm. No, nothing happened. I must have misunderstood her plans. Thanks, Tasha. Rylan, wait! I hung up and sat back in my chair, staring at the monitors showing empty rooms throughout our house. Tyler was still at the kitchen table, working on fractions. Everything looked normal, peaceful even. But my world had just shifted off its axis. Personal time. Not a company retreat. Not a client emergency. Personal time. I opened my laptop and accessed our joint credit card account. The recent charges told a story I didn't want to read. Flights to Denver, charges at high-end restaurants, a luxury hotel called the Meridian Grand. The kind of place that definitely wasn't in any corporate travel budget. But the most damning detail was the charge pattern. Every restaurant bill, every hotel charge, every expense was for 2 people. Room service for 2, dinner for 2. Even the spa charges. Couples massage package. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Sela Merrick, Dean Calix's wife. We need to talk. Call me when you're alone. Dean Calix, Kalia's boss, the man she'd mentioned countless times over the past 6 months. Dean thinks this, and Dean wants that, and Dean has such innovative ideas. I'd started to notice how often his name came up in her conversations, but I'd attributed it to normal workplace dynamics. I stared at Sela's text, pieces of a puzzle I didn't want to solve clicking into place. With shaking hands, I dialed the number. Rylan? Sela's voice was crisp, professional, but underneath I heard something raw. Yes, how did you get my number? I hired a private investigator 3 weeks ago. Your wife and my husband have been careful, but not careful enough. She paused. I know this is a shock. It was for me, too. I don't understand. Kalia's at a business retreat. No, she's not. She's at the Meridian Grand in Denver with Dean. They've been there since Sunday, and according to the investigator's report, this isn't their first trip together. The room seemed to spin around me. How long have you known? I suspected for 2 months. Dean's been working late more often, taking mysterious business trips, being secretive with his phone, classic signs. Her voice was steady, controlled. The investigator confirmed it last week. They've been having an affair for at least 6 months. 6 months. I thought back over the past half year, Kalia's increased travel, her distraction at home, the way she'd become protective of her phone, always keeping it face down or taking it with her to the bathroom. Why are you calling me? I asked. Because I have children too. A daughter, Emma, she's 10, and because I believe you have a right to know before they come back and continue lying to both of us. I closed my eyes, trying to process everything. What do you want to do about this? I want them to face consequences for what they've done. Real consequences, not just a quiet divorce and a slap on the wrist. Sela's voice hardened. I want them to understand that their actions have destroyed 2 families, and I want everyone who matters to know exactly who they really are. I need to think about this. Of course. But Rylan, don't let them know you know. Not yet. If we're going to do this right, we need to be smart about it. After we hung up, I sat in my office for a long time, staring at the security monitors. Tyler had finished his homework and was now in the living room, building something elaborate with his Legos. My son, who had no idea his mother was in a hotel room in Denver with another man, living a lie that was about to destroy everything he'd ever known as normal. I thought about calling Kalia back, confronting her immediately, but Sela was right. If I was going to handle this, I needed to be strategic. My military training had taught me that emotional reactions led to tactical errors. If Kalia and Dean thought they were still operating in secret, they'd be careless. And careless people made mistakes. I opened a new document on my computer and began typing. If this was going to be a war, I needed intelligence, I needed documentation, and I needed a plan that would ensure my son's well-being came first, no matter what else happened. The clock on my computer read 8:23 p.m. Tyler's bedtime was in 30 minutes. I had work to do, but first, I had to be a father. I had to read stories and check for monsters under the bed and maintain the illusion of normalcy for one more night. Tomorrow, I would start building a case that would change everything. The next morning, I dropped Tyler off at school and drove straight to my lawyer's office. Janet Morrison had handled our house purchase and Tyler's adoption paperwork when Kalia and I got married. She was thorough, no nonsense, and most importantly, she understood family law. Rylan, good to see you. Though I'm guessing this isn't a social call. Janet gestured to the chair across from her desk. Her office was all business, law books, family photos, and a coffee maker that looked like it had seen better decades. I need advice about protecting my son in a divorce. Janet's expression shifted to professional concern. What's the situation? I laid out everything. The phone call with Kalia, my conversation with Tasha, Sela's contact, the credit card charges. Janet took notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. How long have you suspected? She asked. Honestly, I didn't. There were little things. More travel, being protective of her phone, seeming distracted, but I trusted her. The words felt bitter. I thought we were solid. Trust isn't naive, Rylan. It's what makes a marriage work. The fact that she violated that trust says everything about her character, nothing about yours. Janet set down her pen. Now let's talk strategy. You want full custody of Tyler? I want what's best for him. But yes, if possible, I want him with me. Kalia's proven she's willing to lie and manipulate. I can't trust her to put Tyler's needs first. The courts favor joint custody unless there's evidence of unfitness or endangerment. An affair, while morally reprehensible, doesn't automatically disqualify someone from parenting. What if I can prove she's been lying to Tyler too? Making promises she breaks, missing important events? Janet leaned forward. That's more useful. Document everything. Every missed event, every broken promise, every time she chooses her affair over her responsibilities as a mother. I pulled out my phone and showed her the credit card statements. She's been spending our money on this relationship. Money that should be going toward Tyler's college fund, our mortgage, his needs. Financial infidelity. That's definitely relevant in asset division. Janet studied the charges. This hotel bill alone is more than most families spend on vacation in a year. There's more. I checked our savings account this morning. She's been making withdrawals, small amounts but regular. 500 here, 300 there. It adds up to about 4,000 over the past 3 months. Cash withdrawals to hide expenses the credit cards might reveal? Janet nodded. Smart of her, but not smart enough. Banks keep records of everything. We spent the next hour going through my options. Janet explained the legal process, the timeline, the likely outcomes. By the time I left her office, I had a clear action plan and a retainer agreement signed. My next stop was my office. I worked for Titan Security Solutions, designing and installing security systems for corporate clients. It was steady work that used my military communications background, and it gave me access to resources that most people didn't have. Morning, Rylan. My colleague Pete looked up from his computer. How's the family? Good, I lied smoothly. Tyler's got a school presentation coming up. I settled at my workstation and pulled up the client database. Officially, I was working on a proposal for a downtown law firm. Unofficially, I was researching Morrison Consulting's building security. Kalia's company occupied 3 floors of a modern office tower. I'd been there for Christmas parties and company picnics, so I knew the layout. More importantly, I knew they used a badge access system that logged every entry and exit. I made a few calls, leveraging professional relationships. Within an hour, I had contact information for the building's security director and a meeting scheduled for that afternoon. Routine security audit, I explained to Tom Bradley, the security director. We're looking at upgrading our client tracking systems and want to review best practices. Tom was happy to show off his setup. The security office was impressive. Multiple monitors showing feeds from throughout the building, access logs updating in real time, visitor management systems that tracked every person who entered or left. We keep detailed records, Tom explained. Badge swipes, visitor logs, even parking garage access. Insurance company requires it. How far back do your records go? 2 years minimum. Some data we keep longer for liability purposes. I nodded appreciatively. That's thorough. What about after-hours access? Badge system works 24/7. Anyone coming in evenings or weekends, we have a record of it. Perfect. If Kalia had been working late as often as she claimed, there would be badge records to prove it. If she hadn't, that would be evidence too. I don't suppose you could show me a sample report, just to see the format? Tom pulled up a screen showing badge access for the past week. I memorized the layout, the data fields, the way information was displayed. Later, I'd figure out how to get the specific records I needed. My phone rang as I was leaving the building. Selah Merrick. Can you meet me for coffee? She asked. I have information you need to see. We met at a small cafe downtown, away from both our usual neighborhoods. Selah was elegant, put together in a way that spoke of money and social connections. But up close, I could see the strain around her eyes, the carefully controlled tension in her posture. I've been thinking about our conversation, she said, sliding a manila envelope across the table. I want to share what my investigator found. The photos inside made my stomach turn. Kalia and Dean at restaurant tables holding hands. Kalia and Dean entering the hotel together, his arm around her waist. Kalia and Dean on what looked like a hiking trail, kissing against a backdrop of mountains. These were taken over the past 3 weeks, Sela explained. This isn't a recent development, Rylan. They're comfortable together, familiar. This has been going on for months. I studied a photo of Kalia laughing at something Dean was saying. She looked happier than I'd seen her in our own home in months. How are you handling this so calmly? I'm not calm, I'm furious, but fury without strategy is just noise. Sela sipped her coffee. Dean thinks he's untouchable, senior partner at his firm, respected in the community, member of the country club board. He's forgotten that his success is built on his reputation, and reputations can be destroyed. What are you proposing? Coordinated exposure, not just a quiet divorce, but public accountability. I want their colleagues to know who they really are. I want their friends to see the photos. I want their professional reputations to reflect their personal character. It was tempting. The idea of Kalia facing real consequences for her choices, of Dean's smug superiority being stripped away in front of people who mattered. But I had to think about Tyler. I need to protect my son through this, I said. Whatever we do, it can't hurt him more than necessary. I understand. I have Emma to think about too. Sela's expression softened slightly. But Rylan, if we don't take control of this narrative, they will. Dean's already been laying groundwork at his firm, talking about how our marriage has been troubled, how he's been unhappy. He's preparing to paint himself as the victim of a loveless marriage who found solace with a colleague. And Kalia? According to my sources, she's been telling people that you're emotionally distant, that you don't support her career ambitions, that she feels trapped in a marriage to someone who doesn't understand her. The manipulation was breathtaking. While I'd been trusting her, supporting her career moves, taking care of our home and our son, she'd been rewriting our entire relationship to justify her affair. What do you have in mind? Sela pulled out her phone and showed me a contact list. These are the people who matter in Dean's professional and social circles. Partners at his firm, board members of organizations he belongs to, clients who trust him with their business. You want to send them the photos? I want to send them the truth. Not gossip, not speculation, but documented evidence of their behavior. She scrolled through another list. And these are Kalia's professional contacts, her boss, her colleagues, clients she's worked with. That could destroy her career. She should have thought of that before she decided to have an affair with her boss. Sela's voice was steel. Actions have consequences, Rylan. The question is whether we let them control those consequences or whether we do. I thought about Tyler, about the life I'd been trying to build for our family, about the trust I'd placed in a woman who'd been lying to me for months. What's the timeline? They're supposed to return Friday. I suggest we wait until they're back, let them think they've gotten away with it, and then reveal what we know. Why wait? Because right now they're careless. They're not covering their tracks as carefully as they would if they knew we were onto them. Every day they think they're safe. They create more evidence. She was right. In security work, the best intelligence came from targets who didn't know they were being watched. I need to think about this. Of course. But Rylan? Don't think too long. Every day we wait is another day they're planning their next move. That evening, I helped Tyler with his homework again. Science this time. A project about simple machines. As he built a lever out of rulers and books, I marveled at his focus, his innocent excitement about discovering how things worked. Dad, when is Mom coming home? He asked, adjusting the fulcrum on his lever. Friday, buddy. Just a few more days. I miss her. I know you do. Do you miss her too? I looked at my son, his earnest face turned up toward mine, and felt the weight of the lies I was going to have to tell to protect him from the truth. Yes, Tyler. I miss her too. That night, after Tyler was asleep, I sat in my office and made a decision. I opened my laptop and began documenting everything. Times, dates, conversations, financial records. If this was going to be a battle, I would be prepared. I also started a new file, protecting Tyler. Whatever happened between Kalia and me, whatever public consequences her choices might bring, my son's well-being came first. I would shield him from as much of the ugliness as possible, and I would make sure he knew that none of this was his fault. The clock on my computer read 11:47 p.m. In less than 4 days, Kalia would be home, ready to continue the lie she'd been living. But I wouldn't be the naive husband anymore. I'd be ready. Friday morning arrived gray and drizzling, matching my mood perfectly. I'd spent the week gathering evidence, coordinating with Janet and Sela, and maintaining the facade of normalcy for Tyler's sake. Today, that facade would end. Kalia's flight was scheduled to land at 2:15 p.m. I'd confirmed this by checking her email. She'd left her laptop logged in, and her password hadn't changed. Another sign of how safe she'd felt in her deception. I picked Tyler up from school early, telling his teacher there was a family situation that needed attention. Tyler was excited about the unexpected treat, chattering about his day as we drove home. "Is Mom home yet?" he asked as we pulled into the driveway. "Not yet, buddy, but soon." I'd prepared carefully for this moment. Our house had security cameras in the main living areas, something I'd installed after a break-in in our neighborhood 2 years ago. Today, those cameras would document everything. At 3:20 p.m., I heard Kalia's key in the front door. Tyler ran to greet her, and I followed, staying calm, observing. "Tyler, my sweet boy!" Kalia dropped her suitcase and swept him into a hug. For a moment, watching them together, I almost doubted what I knew. She looked like the mother Tyler deserved, the wife I'd fallen in love with. "I missed you so much, Mom. Did you bring me anything?" "Of course I did." Kalia reached into her carry-on and pulled out a small snow globe. "This is from the mountains where Mommy was working." Tyler shook it eagerly, watching the fake snow swirl. "It's beautiful. Were there really mountains?" "Huge mountains. The most beautiful I've ever seen." I watched this exchange, noting how easily the lies came to her. There had been mountains. The photos Salah showed me proved that. But she hadn't been there for work. "Rylan." Kalia finally looked at me, and I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Fear? It was gone too quickly to identify. "How was your week?" "Productive," I said evenly. "We need to talk." "Of course. Let me just get settled." "Now, Kalia." Something in my tone made Tyler look up from his snow globe. "Are you guys okay?" "We're fine, sweetheart," Kalia said quickly. "Daddy and I just need to discuss some grown-up things. Why don't you go play with your new snow globe in your room for a few minutes?" Tyler looked between us, his 8-year-old instincts picking up on the tension. "Okay. But can we have pizza for dinner, since Mom's home?" "We'll see, buddy," I said. "Go ahead upstairs." Once Tyler was out of earshot, Kalia turned to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "So, what did you want to talk about? Did something happen while I was gone?" I pulled out my phone and opened the photos Sela had shared. Without saying a word, I handed it to Kalia. The color drained from her face as she scrolled through the images. Her hand shook slightly as she saw herself and Dean in various compromising positions, holding hands at dinner, kissing on a hiking trail, entering the hotel together. "Rylan, I can explain." "Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain lying to me for months, lying to our son, spending our money on your affair, and calling me from your lover's hotel room to tell me you were at a work retreat." Kalia set the phone down carefully, and I watched her shift into damage control mode. Her expression hardened, and she straightened her shoulders. "You hired someone to spy on me?" "I didn't have to. Dean's wife did that. She called me Tuesday night right after you lied to my face on video chat." "This isn't what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Kalia was quiet for a long moment, and I could see her calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew, what her options were. I want a divorce, she said finally. I figured. I've already filed. Her eyes widened. You what? I filed for divorce Wednesday morning. You should be served with papers on Monday. I kept my voice level, professional. I'm also filing for full custody of Tyler. You can't do that. You can't take my son away from me. I'm not taking him away. You chose Dean over your family. I'm just making sure Tyler has stability and honesty in his life. Rylan, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling, we can… Mistakes? I felt my control slip slightly. Kalia, you've been having an affair for months. You've been lying to me, to Tyler, to everyone who cares about you. You've been spending our money on another man while I've been home taking care of our son and believing your lies. I never meant for this to happen. It just developed. Nothing just develops. You made choices. Every time you met Dean for dinner, every time you booked a hotel room with him, every time you lied to me about where you were, those were choices. Kalia started crying then, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of the old sympathy. But then I remembered Tyler asking when Mommy was coming home, remembered the credit card bills, remembered the casual way she'd lied to both of us on Tuesday night. What do you want from me? She asked. I want you to move out. Tonight. Tonight? Rylan, be reasonable. I need time to find a place to pack. You should have thought of that before you decided to destroy our marriage. I pulled out a business card. This is my lawyer's information. Have your attorney contact her to discuss custody arrangements and asset division. I don't have an attorney. Then you'd better get one. Tyler's voice called from upstairs. Mom, Dad, can we order pizza now? Kalia and I looked at each other, the weight of what we'd have to tell our son hanging between us. We need to talk to him together, Kalia said quietly. We need to tell him the truth. Age-appropriate truth, but truth. What are you going to say? That Mommy's a terrible person? I'm going to say that Mommy and Daddy can't live together anymore, but that we both love him very much, and that none of this is his fault. Kalia wiped her eyes. And then what? And then you pack a bag and leave. You can see Tyler this weekend, supervised visits until we work out a formal arrangement. Supervised? Rylan, I'm his mother. You're also someone who's proven she's willing to lie and manipulate. Until I know you're going to put Tyler's needs first, I'm not comfortable with unsupervised visits. The conversation with Tyler was the hardest thing I'd ever done. We sat him down on the couch, both of us trying to maintain composure while his world fell apart. Are you getting divorced? He asked, cutting straight to the heart of it with the clarity only children possess. Yes, sweetheart, Kalia said, her voice breaking. Mommy and Daddy are going to live in different houses. But I don't want you to live in different houses. I want us all to live together. I knelt down so I was at Tyler's eye level. I know, buddy. And I wish we could too. But sometimes grown-ups have problems they can't fix, and the best thing for everyone is to live separately. Is it because of me? No, Kalia and I said simultaneously. Tyler, look at me, I said. This has absolutely nothing to do with you. You are the best thing that ever happened to both of us, and we both love you more than anything in the world. That will never change. Where will I live? You'll live here with me most of the time, and you'll visit Mommy at her new house. Tyler was quiet for a long time, processing. Finally, he asked, Can I still have pizza tonight? Despite everything, I almost smiled. Yeah, buddy. We can still have pizza. After Tyler went to bed, I helped Kalia pack a suitcase with immediate necessities. The process was surreal. This woman I'd shared a home with for 8 years, gathering her belongings like a stranger. Where will you go? I asked. Hotel tonight. I'll figure out something more permanent this weekend. What about Dean? She looked up from folding clothes. What about him? Are you going to keep seeing him? I don't know. This isn't exactly how I pictured things working out. How did you picture it working out? Kalia sat on the edge of the bed, her suitcase half packed. I thought maybe we'd grow apart naturally, that you'd want the divorce too eventually. I thought it would be easier. Easier for who? For everyone. For Tyler. I stared at her, amazed by her capacity for self-deception. You thought lying and cheating would be easier for Tyler than honest communication about problems in our marriage? I thought if I waited, if I figured out what I really wanted. You figured out what you wanted. You wanted Dean. You just didn't want to face the consequences. Kalia finished packing in silence. As she wheeled her suitcase toward the front door, she turned back to me. I really did love you, Rylan. I still do, in a way. No, you don't. You love the security I provided, the stability, the way I took care of everything so you could do whatever you wanted. But you don't love me. That's not fair. Fair! I opened the door for her. You want to talk about fair? What's fair is Tyler having parents who put his needs first. What's fair is consequences for choices. What's fair is honesty. After she left, I sat in my living room, surrounded by the remnants of the life we'd built together. Family photos on the mantle, Tyler's artwork on the refrigerator, the couch where we'd watched movies together just last weekend. My phone buzzed with a text from Sela. How did it go? I typed back, she's gone. Tyler knows. It's done. I'm sorry. I know this was hard. What about you? Have you confronted Dean? Tomorrow. I want to let him think he's gotten away with it for one more night. I understood the impulse. There was something satisfying about knowing the truth while your betrayer remained oblivious. Let me know if you need anything, I texted. Same to you. I turned off the lights and checked on Tyler. He was sleeping peacefully, his new snow globe on the nightstand beside his bed. Tomorrow he'd wake up in a different world, one where his parents were divorced, where his family was broken. But he'd also wake up in a world where at least one of his parents was committed to honesty and putting his needs first. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was the life Kalia's choices had created. Now I had to make the best of it, for Tyler's sake and for my own. The hardest part was over, or so I thought. The weekend passed in a strange sort of suspended animation. Tyler adapted to the new reality with the resilience children possess, asking practical questions about schedules and bedrooms, while I tried to establish routines that felt normal. Kalia called twice to talk to him, conversations that were stilted but civil. Monday morning brought the real consequences. I was at my office when Janet called. The papers have been served. Kalia's attorney wants to meet this week to discuss terms. That was fast. She hired Patricia Vance, expensive, aggressive, specializes in high-asset divorces. I recognized the name. Patricia Vance had a reputation for taking cases other lawyers wouldn't touch, for clients who could afford her particular brand of scorched-earth litigation. What does that tell you? Either Kalia has more money than I thought, or someone else is paying her legal fees. Dean. Of course. He'd want this resolved quietly, quickly, with minimal damage to his own reputation. What's our strategy? Document everything, stay focused on Tyler's best interests, and don't let them bait you into emotional reactions. Janet paused. Rylan, there's something else. Patricia's already filing motions challenging your custody petition. She's claiming you've been emotionally abusive and that you're trying to alienate Tyler from his mother. I felt anger rise in my throat. Based on what evidence? That's what we'll find out, but be prepared. This isn't going to be the quiet, amicable divorce you might have hoped for. My phone rang as soon as I hung up with Janet. Sela. How's your morning going? She asked. Complicated. Yours? Enlightening. I confronted Dean yesterday. He denied everything at first, even when I showed him the photos. What changed his mind? I told him I'd already spoken with 3 partners at his firm and the president of the country club board. I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. Had you really? Of course. I don't bluff. Sela's tone was crisp, businesslike. Dean's reaction was interesting. He didn't try to save our marriage or apologize for the betrayal. His first concern was damage control for his career. What kind of damage control? He wanted to know exactly who I'd talked to, what I'd told them, whether I planned to go public. When I said I was considering it, he offered me a very generous divorce settlement in exchange for my discretion. Are you going to take it? I'm going to take his money, but I'm not going to be discreet. That afternoon, I got a call from Tom Bradley, the security director at Morrison Consulting's building. Rylan, I have those access reports you requested for your security audit. I'd almost forgotten about my request from last week. Great. What did you find? Interesting patterns. Your contact at Morrison Consulting, Kalia Ventor, her badge activity shows some unusual after-hours access. How unusual? Well, she claimed to be working late most evenings for the past 3 months, but her badge shows she left the building by 6 p.m. on most of those days. And there are several days where she badged in but never badged out, suggesting she left through an emergency exit or with someone else who had building access. Dean. She'd been leaving with Dean, using his executive access to bypass the normal security logs. Can you send me a detailed report? Already in your email. The badge report was damning. Every day, Kalia had claimed to be working late. Every evening, she'd come home talking about difficult clients and demanding deadlines. The security logs showed she'd left work at normal hours. The pattern of deception was clear, documented, and impossible to explain away. I forwarded the report to Janet with a note. Evidence of ongoing dishonesty. This should help with custody. Tuesday brought more revelations. Tasha Liu called me at work, her voice shaky. Rylan, I need to talk to you. It's about Kalia. What about her? Can we meet? I don't want to discuss this over the phone. We met at the same cafe where I'd spoken with Sela. Tasha looked nervous, glancing around as if she expected to be overheard. I feel terrible about this, she began. I should have said something sooner. Said something about what? About Kalia and Dean. I knew about the affair. I kept my expression neutral, though inside I felt another piece of trust crumble. How long have you known? 4 months, maybe longer. Tasha twisted her coffee cup in her hands. I saw them together at a restaurant downtown. At first I thought it might be innocent, a work dinner that ran late, but the way they were sitting, the way they were looking at each other, it was obvious. Why didn't you tell me? I confronted Kalia about it. She said her marriage was over anyway, that you two were just staying together for Tyler's sake. She said you knew she was unhappy and that you'd both agreed to see other people. Another lie. Even to her closest friend, Kalia had been rewriting reality to justify her choices. Did you believe her? I wanted to. Kalia's been my friend for years, but when you called last week asking about the retreat, I realized she'd been lying to you too. What else do you know? Tasha pulled out her phone. I have text messages. Kalia sent them to me over the past few months. I saved them because, I don't know, something felt wrong about the whole situation. She showed me the messages. Kalia complaining about me, about our marriage, about feeling trapped and unappreciated. But mixed in with the complaints were details about her relationship with Dean, romantic dinners, weekend getaways, plans for their future together. She was planning to leave you, Tasha said quietly. She and Dean had it all worked out. They were going to wait until after his promotion was confirmed. Then they'd both file for divorce and move in together. What about Tyler? She said you'd be better as a single father anyway, that you were more naturally suited to the day-to-day parenting stuff. The casual dismissal of our son's need for his mother was breathtaking. Tyler wasn't a burden to be shuffled off. He was a child who deserved parents who fought for him, not parents who saw him as an inconvenience. Will you testify to this in court? I asked. Tasha nodded. I feel awful about not telling you sooner. Tyler's such a sweet kid, and you've always been good to Kalia. You didn't deserve this. Wednesday brought news from Selah. She'd followed through on her threat to expose Dean's behavior to his professional contacts. The response had been swift and severe. The managing partner called Dean into his office yesterday, she told me over the phone. Apparently, several clients have expressed concerns about Dean's judgment and professionalism. What kind of concerns? The kind that come with photographic evidence of a senior partner having an affair with a subordinate from a client company. It raises questions about conflicts of interest, abuse of power, professional ethics. Is he going to lose his job? Not immediately, but his promotion has been postponed indefinitely, and he's being removed from several high-profile cases. How's he taking it? Badly. He's blaming me, blaming you, blaming everyone except himself. Selah's voice carried a note of grim satisfaction. He's also blaming Kalia. What do you mean? According to Emma, she overheard Dean on the phone yesterday telling someone that Kalia had been the pursuer in their relationship, that she'd been aggressive and manipulative, that he'd been trying to end things, but she wouldn't let go. The speed with which Dean was throwing Kalia under the bus was remarkable. When the consequences of their affair became real, his first instinct was to protect himself by destroying her reputation. Has Kalia heard about this? I don't know, but she's about to. That evening, as I was helping Tyler with his homework, Kalia called. She sounded frantic. Rylan, I need to talk to you. Something's happened. What kind of something? I've been fired. I stepped into the kitchen, out of Tyler's earshot. Fired for what? They're claiming I violated company ethics policies by having a relationship with a client representative. They're saying it compromised my professional judgment. Did it? That's not the point. Dean's telling people I seduced him, that I was unprofessional, that I created a hostile work environment. And you're surprised by this? I thought he cared about me. I thought we were going to build something together. The naivety was stunning. Kalia, you were having an affair with a married man who was in a position of power over your career. What did you think was going to happen when it came to light? I thought he'd protect me. He's protecting himself, just like you were protecting yourself when you lied to me for months. Kalia was crying now. I don't know what to do. I don't have a job. I can't afford my lawyer. I can't even afford my hotel room much longer. You should have thought about that before you decided to have an affair. Rylan, please. I know I made mistakes, but I'm still Tyler's mother. I still need to be able to support myself so I can be part of his life. Then you'd better figure out how to do that without Dean's help. Thursday brought a call from Patricia Vance, Kalia's attorney. Mr. Ventor, I think it would be beneficial for all parties if we could reach an amicable settlement without protracted litigation. I'm listening. My client is willing to agree to joint custody with you as the primary residential parent. In exchange, she'd like to keep her car and half the savings account. What about the money she spent on her affair? I'm not sure what you're referring to. The $4,000 in cash withdrawals, the credit card charges for hotels and restaurants with Dean Calix, money that came out of our joint accounts to fund her relationship with another man. There was a pause. I'll need to discuss that with my client. You do that. And Ms. Vance, I want full custody, not joint. Your client has proven she's willing to lie to her child and put her own desires ahead of his needs. Until she demonstrates otherwise, I'm not comfortable with unsupervised visitation. That's not a reasonable position, Mr. Ventor. It's the only position I'm willing to consider. Friday afternoon, Janet called with news. Patricia Vance has withdrawn from the case. Why? Kalia can't afford her fees, and Dean Calix has apparently decided not to pay for her legal representation after all. So, what happens now? Kalia will either have to represent herself or find a less expensive attorney. Either way, it strengthens our position considerably. That evening, I sat Tyler down for another difficult conversation. Buddy, we need to talk about the schedule for seeing Mom. Is she coming over for dinner? Not tonight, but we're going to set up regular times for you to spend time with her. Why can't she just come home? I knelt down to his level, choosing my words carefully. Remember how we talked about Mommy and Daddy not being able to live together anymore? Yeah. Well, that means we're going to live in separate houses permanently. This is your home, with me. And Mommy's going to have her own home where you can visit her. Tyler was quiet for a moment. Will you be lonely when I'm at Mom's house? The question broke my heart. Even in the middle of his own confusion and loss, he was worried about me. I might miss you when you're not here, I said honestly. But I won't be lonely, and I'll always be happy that you get to spend time with Mom, because I know you love her. I love you too, Dad. I know you do, buddy, and that's never going to change. As I tucked Tyler into bed that night, I reflected on the week that had passed. Kalia's carefully constructed lies had unraveled completely. Dean had abandoned her the moment their affair became inconvenient for him. Her job was gone, her reputation was damaged, and her financial security had evaporated. Part of me felt sorry for her, but a larger part of me felt satisfied that actions had consequences, that the people who had chosen to lie and manipulate and betray were facing the reality of those choices. Tyler was safe, I had legal custody, and the truth was finally out in the open. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was honest. And after months of living with lies, honesty felt like a gift. 3 months later, I stood in the kitchen of our home, my home now, legally and completely, making Tyler's lunch for his first day of 3rd grade. The morning routine had become smooth, efficient, ours. Tyler chattered about his new teacher while I packed his sandwich, and for the first time since this whole ordeal began, I felt genuinely at peace. The divorce had been finalized 2 weeks ago. Kalia had ultimately represented herself, showing up to court with a legal pad covered in handwritten notes and a desperation that was painful to witness. The judge had awarded me full custody with supervised visitation for Kalia, 2 hours every other Saturday at a family services center. Dad, will Mom be at my school presentation next week? Tyler asked, swinging his legs from his perch on the kitchen counter. I don't know, buddy. We'll have to ask her on Saturday. Tyler nodded matter-of-factly. He'd adapted to the new reality with remarkable resilience, though I knew he still harbored hopes that somehow things would go back to the way they were. Dr. Patricia Williams, the child psychologist I'd started taking him to see, said that was normal and that Tyler was processing everything in a healthy way. The most important thing, Dr. Williams had told me, is that Tyler has one stable, consistent parent who's committed to his well-being. You're providing that. The rest will work itself out over time. My phone rang as I was zipping up Tyler's backpack. Selah. Good morning, she said, her voice lighter than it had been in months. How's the first day of school preparation going? Smooth. Tyler's excited about his new teacher. How about Emma? She's nervous but ready. 4th grade feels like such a big step. Selah and I had become unlikely friends through this process. Our children were attending the same school, and we'd discovered we had more in common than just unfaithful spouses. She was smart, funny, and refreshingly direct. Emma and Tyler had become friends too, bonding over their shared experience of family upheaval. Are you free for coffee after drop-off? Selah asked. I have news about Dean. Good news or bad news? Depends on your perspective. An hour later, we sat in our usual cafe, the one that had become our unofficial headquarters during the divorce proceedings. Dean's moving to Seattle, Selah announced. The firm is transferring him to their Pacific Northwest office. Promotion or demotion? Lateral move, officially. But everyone knows it's damage control. He's burned too many bridges here. I stirred my coffee thoughtfully. What about his relationship with Kalia? Over. Has been for months. Apparently, he told her that their affair was a mistake and that he needed to focus on rebuilding his career. How's she taking it? Selah's expression softened slightly. Not well. Emma mentioned seeing her at the grocery store last week. She looked diminished. I felt a familiar conflict of emotions. Anger at what Kalia had done to our family, but also sadness for the person she'd become. The woman I'd married had been capable of better choices. Has she found work? Part-time consulting, nothing like what she had before. Her reputation in the industry is pretty damaged. And Tyler? She shows up for her supervised visits. Sometimes she seems engaged, sometimes she seems like she's going through the motions. The social worker says Tyler handles it well, but he's definitely more reserved with her than he used to be. It was a sobering reminder that Tyler was the real victim in all of this. He'd lost the mother he'd known, even if he'd gained a more honest family environment. Any regrets? Sela asked. I considered the question seriously. About the divorce? No. About how it all played out? Sometimes. What do you mean? I wonder if there was a way to handle it that would have been less damaging for Tyler. Maybe if I'd confronted Kalia privately, given her a chance to end the affair and work on our marriage. Rylan. Sela's voice was firm. You can't rewrite history, and you can't take responsibility for choices that weren't yours to make. Kalia chose to have an affair. She chose to lie to you and to Tyler. She chose to prioritize her relationship with Dean over her family. You responded to those choices. You didn't create them. She was right, intellectually. But the emotional weight of being responsible for Tyler's well-being, for his happiness, for his ability to trust and love, that was something I carried every day. Besides, Sela continued, look at Tyler now. He's thriving. He's confident. He's doing well in school. He has friends. He feels secure. You've given him that. We've given him that. You and Emma have been a huge part of his support system. Sela smiled. Speaking of which, Emma wants to know if Tyler can come to her birthday party next weekend. I'm sure he'd love to. What can I bring? Just yourselves. Though if you want to stay for the adult portion of the party after the kids' activities wind down, you're more than welcome. There was something in her tone, a subtle invitation that went beyond friendship. Over the past few months, as we'd navigated our respective divorces and helped our children adjust, Sela and I had grown close. She was intelligent, kind, and shared my commitment to putting our children's needs first. I'd like that, I said. Good. So would I. That afternoon, I picked Tyler up from his first day of school. He was bursting with excitement about his new classroom, his teacher, the projects they'd be working on. Dad, guess what? My teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, she has a son who's in college studying computer programming just like you did. That's cool, buddy. Did you tell her about the security systems we've been working on at home? Yeah. She said maybe you could come talk to the class about technology sometime. I'd be happy to do that. As we drove home, Tyler chattering about his day, I reflected on how much our lives had changed. The house felt different now, lighter somehow, despite everything we'd been through. There were no more lies lurking beneath the surface, no more tension from unspoken resentments. Dad? Tyler's voice interrupted my thoughts. Yeah, buddy. I'm glad it's just us now. The statement caught me off guard. You are? Yeah, I mean I miss Mom sometimes, but I like that when you say something, I know it's true. And I like that when you promise something, you do it. Out of the mouths of babes. Tyler had identified something I hadn't fully articulated. The relief of living in an environment built on honesty and consistency. I'm glad too, Tyler. And you know what? No matter what happens, that's never going to change. I will always tell you the truth, and I will always keep my promises to you. I know, Dad. That's why I'm not worried anymore. That evening, after Tyler was in bed, I sat in my office updating the family calendar. Soccer practice, school events, playdates with Emma, Tyler's next appointment with Dr. Williams. The rhythm of single parenthood had become natural, fulfilling even. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it without reading, assuming it was spam. But something made me open it. Rylan, this is Kalia. I know I don't have the right to contact you directly, but I wanted you to know that I'm moving to Phoenix. I got a job offer there, a chance to start over. I wanted to ask if you'd consider allowing Tyler to visit me there sometimes, when I get settled. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let our lawyers handle any changes to the custody arrangement. But another part of me recognized that Tyler deserved the chance to have a relationship with his mother, even if it looked different than what we'd all originally envisioned. I typed back, "We can discuss it through the family services coordinator. Tyler's well-being comes first, but I'm not opposed to reasonable visitation if you can demonstrate stability." Her response came quickly. "Thank you. I know I don't deserve your consideration, but Tyler does deserve the chance to know his mother. I'm going to do better, Rylan. I'm going to be the person he needs me to be." "I hope so," I replied, and despite everything, I meant it. Saturday morning brought Tyler's visitation with Kalia. I dropped him off at the Family Services Center, watching as he ran to greet his mother in the supervised playroom. Their interaction was still somewhat awkward, but I could see genuine affection between them. "How's he doing with the visits?" asked Sandra Martinez, the social worker who supervised their time together. "He seems okay? Sometimes he's quiet afterward, but he always says he had a good time." "That's normal. These transitions are hard for kids, but Tyler's handling it well. He feels secure with you, which gives him the emotional foundation to navigate his relationship with his mother." "What's your assessment of Kalia?" Sandra chose her words carefully. "She's trying. She's not the same person who was here 3 months ago. She seems more grounded, more focused on Tyler's needs rather than her own. The move to Phoenix might be good for her. Fresh start, chance to rebuild. And if she wants to pursue unsupervised visitation there, we'd start slowly. Day visits, then overnight, then longer periods if everything goes well. But that's months down the road, and it would depend on her demonstrating consistent stability." When I picked Tyler up 2 hours later, he seemed thoughtful but not upset. "How was your time with Mom?" I asked as we drove home. "Good. She told me about Phoenix. She said there are mountains there and maybe we could go hiking sometime." "How do you feel about that?" Tyler was quiet for a moment. "I think it would be fun to visit, but I want to live with you." "That's not going to change, buddy. This is your home with me. But if Mom gets settled in Phoenix and you want to visit her there sometimes, we can make that work." "Okay." "Dad?" "Yeah?" "I'm hungry. Can we get burgers?" I laughed, marveling once again at children's ability to move seamlessly from profound emotional processing to immediate practical needs. "Absolutely. Burgers it is." That evening, Sela called to finalize plans for Emma's birthday party. "Emma's so excited Tyler's coming," she said. "She's been planning activities they can do together." "He's excited too. It's nice that they have each other through all this." "It's nice that we have each other too." There it was again, that note of something deeper than friendship. "Sela, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Are we heading somewhere with this? Because if we are, I want to make sure we're thinking about it carefully. Emma and Tyler's friendship is important, and I don't want to complicate that." "I've been wondering the same thing," she admitted. "I care about you, Rylan, more than just as a friend. But you're right. We need to be thoughtful about how we proceed. What if we take it slowly? See how things develop naturally without putting pressure on ourselves or the kids?" "I'd like that. I'd like that a lot." Sunday morning, I woke up feeling optimistic about the future for the first time in months. Tyler and I made pancakes together, our weekend tradition, while he told me about his plans for the day, building a fort in the backyard, working on a puzzle, maybe calling Emma to compare notes about their upcoming school projects. "Dad, do you think you'll ever get married again?" he asked, flipping a pancake with more enthusiasm than skill. "I don't know, buddy. Maybe someday. How would you feel about that?" "I think it would be okay, as long as she was nice to me and didn't try to replace Mom. No one could ever replace Mom, Tyler, and no one would ever try to. If I did get married again someday, it would be someone who understood that you're the most important person in my life. Like how Emma's mom understands that Emma's the most important person in her life? Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. Yeah, like that. As we ate our slightly lopsided pancakes, I looked around our kitchen, at Tyler's artwork on the refrigerator, at the school calendar covered with soccer practices and parent conferences, at the coffee mug Sella had left here last week when she'd stopped by to drop off some books Emma wanted to share with Tyler. This wasn't the life I'd planned a year ago, but it was honest, it was stable, and it was built on a foundation of truth and genuine care. Tyler was thriving. I was finding my footing as a single parent, and there was even the possibility of new love on the horizon. Kalia's choices had destroyed one version of our family, but they'd also cleared the way for something healthier to grow in its place. It had taken months